Okay. I just want to give a little historical backdrop that will make the conversation more interesting. Survey of India is the oldest scientific organization in the country. It came up in 1767, 245 years. That means from a totally manual system to a digital system. A period when there was no communication available. The only medium of communication was you have to send a person physically, but then he may not locate you because you are seen in the jungle doing survey. Times have changed. The digital era came, the computers. Now, the computers really brought a lot of revolutions. The paper maps got converted into digital maps. Then the inputs came in the form of satellite imageries in digital format, aerial photograph from analog to digital format. Then, from a not so romantic paper map to a very romantic 3D world in a digital format. The department has definitely undergone a lot of changes in 245 years period, and a lot of applications, and it has created not only visibility to the organization and also has helped the society at large. That is why today I always see a lot of activities like 3D GIS Delhi city. That is, again, we are in the forefront. We created that 3D GIS for Delhi. So a lot of GIS applications we have developed for other cities and other organizations. And not only that, beyond that, as you know that Survey of India is a strategic organization for Ministry of Defence. So the 3D data for the entire country. So I think the major impact of ICT is with Survey of India.
How long was this a transition for you to come from a paper to a digital format? What were the challenges that you faced or are still facing in that?
In fact, the digital technology was introduced, although in 80s we had automated centers and things like that. It was just the beginning. But the real transformation took place in the 90s and last decade or so, because to train the people to procure all these equipments, get it converted. So naturally, a lot of challenges were there. The challenge was basically you have to first train your own men, make them conversant with the new equipments. Similarly, the mindset. When you are used to seeing a paper map and when you see in a digital format, it's a totally two different things. Then train them for understanding the GIS and develop GIS applications which are very exciting. So the challenges were mainly adopting the technology. The other issue was, many times I have seen, we bought a lot of expensive equipments, but these equipments are all imported, not indigenously developed. So by the time, because when you buy, you are not completely aware about that. So the vendor has already given you a very good picture about that. So you have purchased, you have invested few crores. When it comes to actual utilization, there are a lot of handicaps. There is a lot of gap between the vendor's claim and actual operationalization. So these are the challenges basically. Imported technology, training your manpower, then collecting data as per that format, and ultimately you are generating a product. It must meet the user's aspirations.
So in terms of policy, how have you gone about it so that it's interoperable, it's a standardized format? So in terms of policy, how have you gone about integrating technology into the survey mapping?
The first time when we digitized the maps, so the softwares were all black boxes. It was very vendor specific. So naturally, interoperability was not possible. So you have to only depend only one software. But when this data is generated and it has to be imported to some other software system, then it was not possible. So the first book was released by Mr. Rajiv Gandhi when he was the Prime Minister of India. It's called digital vector data. So we designed a vector format for our data so that it is in a neutral format.
Okay.
Once you are giving it in neutral and open format, you can import it to any GIS systems. That was the subsequently, because then there were other challenges was the policy front. Initially, the digital data were all classified. It was not available to the public. So there was a lot of hue and cry. So you are not able to give anything to the civil society. Ultimately, in a democratic society like us, we need the data also for the developmental needs. Then a series of revolutionary policies came. National Map Policy 2005, Aerial Photography Policy 2006, then very recently in 2011, National Data Sharing and Accessible Policy, NDSAP. Then your satellite data, remote sensing data policy, that also underwent changes. So, lot of changes did take place in the policy front. I will not say a total change, but that has made possible, at least for the common man, to have access to the digital data. Still, there are gaps, there are still issues. It is still undergoing further changes, and maybe in another 5 years' time, you'll see a totally liberalized policy without any restrictions. Then, institutions like your NSDI came, National Special Area Infrastructure. In the defense also, we have got similar projects. In fact, the importance was realized even in the Ministry of Defense, so that is a separate Directorate General of Information System was created. Project management organizations to develop specific applications for strategic, for battlefield management and things like that. It were created, and they are carrying out some research, and the process is on. It is a continuous process. It will take some more years.
So in terms of security, which has always been an issue whenever a map, or even especially in the military institutions, so how do you tackle that as a key issue? So when you get it on a digital format, how have you ensured that those that are secured and those that are not?
Firstly, even security issues are also dynamic in nature. It is not static. We must understand that. At the time of independence, when we were having only paper maps, we are only concerned about the international boundary and nearby area. Now, with the passage of time, we are no more perturbed about your political boundaries, because now the war strategy has also undergone change. It is basically we are talking about strategy for your economic security, strategy for your energy resources, strategy for many other things. So we have to also change our mindset accordingly. And then there are many things on which we do not have a control, like your satellite images. Earlier, imaging was absolutely no-no for everybody. Even if you take a panoramic photograph of any city, police will definitely catch you. But now, with high resolution imagery is freely available in the public domain. So your mindset also has to change. You know that, okay, this much can be available in the public domain. So how do I counter? So that was at the mindset level. But whereas, security issues will always remain, no doubt. But what happens, like we know that road accidents will take place if you allow people to buy car and drive on the road. But that doesn't mean that we tell them that don't buy car. You have to have car, you have to accept that some accidents will take place, but we have to also at the same time educated people to be responsible. So they drive responsibly. Similarly, in the policy, we have been trying to include clauses so that people become, accountable, they are responsible. Use it for bona fide use, but don't use it for, don't make it available freely to our adversaries. That is one. But yes, still now, many things we are not able to put it in the web. Like even in the army, like your internet. Internet is our own classified medium. Our own strategic network is also classified up to restricted. Beyond restricted data, we don't put it. No secret data, confidential data can be put it on that, because it can be hacked by anybody, and so it's a gradual process. Then for countering security, physical access, you can check. You can have some firewalls. You can have some policy issues, but it's a always
Overall, it's a,
both go simultaneously.
but it's a risk which is
Huh.
inbuilt in the
It is a risk is inbuilt, which you have to accept.
accept.
So liberalization has to take place, and you also know that yes, some amount of risk will take place. And
How do you see the next 5 years playing out? How do you see the role of technology at Survey of India? Where is it going? What is your vision for
yeah.
it?
What has happened is, with the technology, people's aspiration also goes up. Like in 80, before 80, like people, they were happy with an ambassador car or a Premier Padmini. Now, everybody wants to own a good car with good SE, good engineering inbuilt. Earlier, people were happy with the paper map. Now, people are not happy with the paper map. They are not even happy with the 50,000 scale map. They are dissatisfied with the currency of the map. So the main challenge is you have to generate maps on a very high resolution. So we have already initiated a program to map the whole country on 1:10,000 scale, and we want to finish it within 3 years period. Earlier, to generate a map of the whole country took hundreds of years. So now we want to do it in 3 years time, because everybody wants that even this should be updated in every year. It's a huge challenge, because people say, okay, now satellite imageries are available, aerial photographs are available, other tools are available, why don't you expedite? At the same time, the constraint is that in the government, you cannot recruit people just like that. So another challenge is that you have to go for public-private partnership, PPP mode. Now, the industry is still in its infancy stage, because they do not have enough job. So we need to create enough jobs so that the industry can also employ a lot of people, give them employment, so that they are ready to also contribute. Everybody has to contribute.
Right. Also, you get that skilled pool of people.
And then, what I see in the next 5 or 10 years time, there is an enormous amount of opportunities available for the young generation. As there is a lot of demand for the data.
Right.
Since there is demand is there, manpower is not there. So capacity building and everything, all those things we are talking about. This will be you'll find that more and more people will be interested to come to this profession. The salary will also go up. Right now, because there is not many jobs, salary structure comparable to other, is not very good. So it will also increase. More and more youngsters will be interested to come to this profession. And finally, the products what will be generated, like the 3D GIS of Delhi, it is an eye-opener. People are talking about it. It is going to help the governance. It is meeting not one's organization requirement, it is going to meet the requirement of every department requirement. So once you generate an exciting product, then there is no problem as far as where the money will come, because everybody will like to contribute financially.
Right.
So all are interlinked.
Right.
Technology, manpower, product, everything is interlinked.
Anything on the satellites, sir? Anything on the national imaging infrastructure anything on that exciting coming up that we should
You see,
look out for?
one is, what is happening is, we have got the remote sensing satellites for mapping and other activities. Now what happens? We are looking for an optical sensor when there is no cloud. Otherwise, if there is cloud, it has got no meaning.
Right.
But then we have got thermal sensors which can penetrate through the cloud. As I say, as the aspiration goes up, like tomorrow a disaster takes place. So naturally disaster could be due to your cyclone or things like that. So naturally a lot of clouds are there. That is the time you need satellite beaming there with radar sensors or thermal sensors which can penetrate through the crowd. Okay. The resolution issue is no more an issue because whatever is available is quite okay.
Yeah.
But then the issue is the currency again. How often I can get the data and how quickly I can get the data.
Okay. Okay.
But the other area is satellite imagery, you don't get everything. The challenge is the aerial photography. India is a huge country. Not a single company is available who can do aerial photography. In government level, there is only National Remote Sensing Center, which has got one aircraft, some obsolete equipments. They are also handicapped with the normal government, constraints. What I see, like small countries like Australia, New Zealand, they have got hundreds of aerial survey companies. There is enough job is available. So this will grow. So imaging from satellite is a government controlled thing, but imaging using aerial aircraft from aircraft platform, using optical sensors, using LiDAR, using other sensors, that will grow.
It's an upcoming sector.
It is an upcoming. There are some policy constraints, that is why the growth is a little restricted right now.
Okay.
But I think in next 5 years,
It will open up.
yes. You cannot stop the flow of water. If you put a barrier,
Right.
the water will get accumulated and then
Right.
cross over it.
And also,
Flow
I
over
think
it.
the government should be very proactive that instead of, if the demand is there, then probably we'll go out for foreign players.
Yes,
The quicker we are to encourage.
government has to be proactive, but unfortunately in India, the policy making process is slow, being a democracy. It is not in the hand of one person. So in policy making, you have to consult all ministries. So one ministry may be very progressive, the other ministry may not be so. So you are excited, but he is not. So you have to also educate him, convince him, okay, bhai, you also join hand with me so that country will progress. So that is why, things move slowly. Then the political bosses. So they are not, familiar. When it comes to technology, everybody is. It takes time for them to understand the utility of the technology.
So how do you think secure IT should move ahead, and what are the key issues that we should address in the coming time?
I think security initiative is a fantastic and very, very praiseworthy, effort. You are bringing together people from different departments, organizations, making them sit here, educating them, creating that awareness, and people are listening from the horse's mouth. And then, that itself is a great achievement. And then you are always inviting the right kind of people who can contribute. When they go back, you see, it is a very human nature is that we always learn from each other. I may not express that, but when I am talking to you, I learn from you, or when you learn from me. It's a natural thing. And when we sit here for one day, people are discussing, talking, meeting, seeing the vendors, products. That itself brings the changes in the mind. So it triggers, like APJ Abdul Kalam said, no? So you have ignited mind. So minds have to be ignited by somebody, and security is, I think, doing that.
Great, great. Thank you, sir.